Hi boys and girls. Last week we took some Model Magic and we did some mixing with our hands. We made some different colors, different shades of greens, tints and shades. And today you're gonna get to choose one of those colors or more than one. And you're going to be creating your succulents. And the succulents that I'm gonna show you how to make today look something like this. And we talked last week, we looked at the pictures of the succulents and we drew some succulents. And we noticed that all of the shapes of the leaves looked very similar. They were different in size, but the shapes looked about the same. So I'm gonna show you how to make a small succulent plant. And if you'll recall, you actually took a small piece of parchment paper and you turned your pot over and you traced around it with pencil. And so you are going to make sure that you build your succulent onto this paper so that it fits and sits on the top of your pot. And so it becomes like a nice little sculpture for you. So we're gonna be working on that today. You're gonna take your bag out and you're gonna kind of set your bag to the side. And you're gonna be building onto this, so you want that in the middle. And you're gonna take a chunk of the clay, whatever color you'd like, and you're gonna start by breaking off, if you wanna build them like I built these, you're gonna start by breaking off 5 pieces, or 6, whatever you think you'll need, depending on the size of your circle. But you're gonna break off 5 little chunks of this Model Magic clay. And remember, succulent petals are a little bit different from the sunflower petals we looked at because the succulents are a little thicker. They're more of a form than they are a shape. So let's start with 5. And while I'm working on these 5, I'm actually gonna just take this extra clay and pop it into my bag so that it stays moist and so the air doesn't get to it while we're working. So I'm just gonna set that aside. I start by rolling each of these clay pieces into a ball, and I want to make sure that they're about the same size. I'm going to make them all into a ball, and if any of them are a little bit smaller than the others, you can always break a piece off of the larger pieces and add it to some of the smaller ones so that they're all about the same size. And we're going to work on the bottom layer first. We're going to be working top to bottom. Now I have 5 shapes, and all you want to do is press the shape flat, just pressing it with my finger. I'm not really putting a thumbprint or a fingerprint in it. I'm just gently pressing all over so that you're going to end up with 5 kind of like somewhat thick round discs of clay, flattening it a little bit. You can flatten it with your fingers, you can flatten it on the table. And now I want to shape it however you would like your petals to shape, to look. I'm going to actually use my fingers just to pinch a little point at the ends of mine. Some of the succulents had rounder petals. Some of them had pointier petals on the ends. They all look different. So however you create yours, just make sure that each one looks similar to the next. They all had a similar shape. Each plant had a similar shaped petal. And when we start building, we're actually gonna place them onto this paper, this parchment paper. And I'm not actually starting with the end at the circle. I'm actually starting in the middle of it. And I want my petals to just come to the edge of that circle. So I'm building it and I'm placing the petals kind of in the middle, and just the point will come out to that line. I only needed about 5 to fill that circle. It's okay if the middle has a hole in it. That's all right. We're just building it on there, and we just want it to be around that size so it'll stick off just a little bit. And I'm ready for the next layer. When I make the next layer, I actually would like to make the petals the same shape, but all I'm going to do is make them a little bit smaller. Now, when I add them, I'm not going to add them in the same place. I want the edges to just kind of like, I want the point of this to kind of come in between this point. So I'm going to stagger them, and I don't want to press it down flat. I want them to kind of pop up. So I'm just pressing it in the center as I put it down. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna position it, and then you can use your finger to press it, or as the space starts to get kind of tight, you can actually press it with the end of a pencil. I've got one last one to go in between these two pieces. Now I can go ahead, I can put in a third layer of petals if I'd like, but you're starting to build kind of a three-dimensional plant. And so I could go ahead and do a third layer, but if I want to, I can finish up and put a centerpiece in it. And I'll show you how I do that. I just take a small piece of clay, I flatten it into a circle, just like I did the petals. But this time, I'm actually going to pinch the edges, the sides, so I have 2 points coming out on the side, like that. And then I'm gonna turn it, so I have 2 points coming out on this side, and it's gonna kind of look like a little bit of a star. And now I'm gonna take a pencil, and I'm just going to poke my pencil into the middle of it, just like that. And I'm gonna push the sides and just gently pinch around the edges so that you can see my little petal, just like that. And I'm just gonna take this and stick it right down in the center. And that is how you build a succulent. We'll leave these to air dry on the counter, and we'll put them together with their pot next week.